Right, we start with Chelsea. Head coach Thomas Tuchel has committed himself to managing the club beyond the ownership of Roman Abramovich. The German says he loves the club and is not affected by the uncertainty surrounding it. It's understood several serious bids of around £3 billion have been offered to purchase the European and World Club champions.
The opposite of a problem staying here. I said many times that I love working in Premier League. I would love to be in England and feel the tradition and the love for sports in general and for football in particular. It's an amazing place to be. Chelsea is from my point of view, for me, a perfect fit. I love to be here. I love everything about the club, and hopefully it continues. There is now an uncertainty, but isn't it always as a football manager? So I'm used and trained to live with it on of course different levels, and this is quite a level. I have to be honest, but I'm positive and hope things will end well. Still, I think Chelsea is a strong club and will stay a strong club. I mean, our owner decided to sell the club, but he sells a strong, solid, and a very well organized club on the highest level.
Well, Tuchel insists there is no point in panicking about the situation the club finds itself in. He and the players were given a briefing by director Marina Granovskaya and technical and performance advisor Petr Cech.
It does not make sense to worry too much because we don't have a lot of influence, not to say no influence at all. So that was the bottom line. We are allowed to focus on football and do the best to focus on football. Like I said, it was not only the team, it was the complete staff. And this is what we try to do anyway, to create an atmosphere where you feel safe once you enter the building, where you feel calm. And because we do this on a daily basis, this can help now to deal with the situation. Of course, there's uncertainty, and of course there will be like with all humans here, almost 100 people in the building, 80 people in the building. Everybody will feel different about this. Some will feel scared, some will feel, I don't know, sad. And I think everything is allowed for every individual, but we can allow ourselves, and we should allow ourselves to focus on what we love the most, and this is football, and to perform the best way possible.
Well, the sale of the club has huge implications for the club's transfer business. Antonio Rudiger, Andres Christensen and captain Cesar Azpilicueta are all out of contract this summer, so could it affect their decision to stay?
That's the situation, and maybe the bottom line is we cannot help it. It's what it is, and you never know. Maybe it has a positive effect on the negotiation. Maybe it has a negative effect. We cannot predict, and I would like not to predict and not to start in predicting all scenarios, because we just lose focus on it. But of course, like I said, everybody has a different situation, feels different about it. Still, I hope for the best outcome. Still, I think we have something to offer. To be very honest, there are no talks at the moment for summer. We're not going on, not with Marina, not with Petr. It's simply a bit too early. There are always ideas and reflections on the subject, but the main focus was in the last weeks, even without all the noise on the different competitions.
Right, we are joined now by our chief reporter, Kaveh Solhekol, who's been right across the story for us. We know Roman Abramovich hopefully wants a bit of a quick sale for the club, you'd think. What is the latest on the situation then?
Well, look, Roman Abramovich has instructed the investment bank, the Rain Group, to handle the sale of Chelsea. And any potential bidders, interested parties, have been told to put their bids in by the 15th of March. Now, at the moment, there are at least 4 interested parties. One of the consortium who've already shown their hand in public includes the Swiss businessman Hansjorg Wyss, who gave an interview a couple of days ago saying he'd been offered the chance to buy Chelsea. He's working with a consortium that includes the American sports investor Todd Boehly, who's a part owner of the LA Dodgers baseball team. And 3 years ago, he actually tried to buy Chelsea. for about £2 billion. And he's been on record as speaking about the fact that he wants to invest in a Premier League club, but when it comes to buying a club, he wants to buy one of the best clubs. And of course Chelsea at the moment, the fact that they're European and world champions would fit that criteria. There's always in the past been interest from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who owns the Ineos group. He has distanced himself from reports that he's interested in buying Chelsea at the moment. I think he feels that Premier League clubs are too expensive, the asking price that is being asked for them. There have also been reports that an Egyptian businessman called Lofty Mansour, who is a Chelsea season ticket holder, is interested in putting together a bid to buy the club. But The Guardian, just in the past hour, are reporting that they've spoken to one of his spokespeople who has told them that he is not pursuing a bid to buy Chelsea. So those are some of the possible interested parties. One thing I would say is normally when it comes to takeovers, especially of the big clubs, on a lot of occasions they're done very, very quietly. The people who buy them, you don't know that they're going to buy the club until it's announced. So we should always bear that in mind as well.
OK, Kaveh, thank you very much indeed. Well, if Abramovich was sanctioned, things would get complicated.
It would be extremely unwise to try and complete the sale of the club legally until the Premier League have approved who is actually buying the club, where the actual funds are coming from. And in this particular scenario, the Premier League will be particularly keen to ensure that the new buyers have no connection with the existing regime. One of the things that might happen here, the way this may play out, is if sanctions are imposed, you might have a Derby County type situation where effectively it's not the owner that's selling the club, but somebody may come in as a kind of administrator who oversees the sale of the club, and they may work with the trustees in relation to the sale of the club.
Now, yesterday, Newcastle co-owner Amanda Staveley claimed Abramovich had been treated unfairly, but manager Eddie Howe wouldn't be drawn on the issue. Saudi Arabia are engaged in conflict in Yemen, but Howe wasn't prepared to discuss the potential implications for Newcastle.
I wondered what you thought of Russian ownership being moved out of Everton and Chelsea.
It's very difficult for me to comment on other football clubs. You asked me a question about this football club, I will answer, but I'm not going to get drawn into that.
Are you concerned then that the authorities could look at Newcastle next, because Saudi Arabia is also bombing a neighbour?
I'm not going to predict what people will do. I'll only react to clear facts that I have in front of me. So I think commenting on things like that is not relevant to me.
I mean, you are the face of the club, though, aren't you? It's a Saudi-owned club, and Saudi Arabia is involved in a war in its neighbour, and Russia's involved with a war in its neighbour and being sanctioned for that. So does that mean, Saudi Arabia could be looked at as well, which could affect, whether you can buy players or...
I'm a football manager and I'm coaching the team to try and get results, and that's all I'm going to comment on.